Welcome back to the deep dive. I want to start today with a question that it feels pretty simple on the surface, but I promise you, by the time we're done here, it's going to feel incredibly complicated.
Okay.
The question is this: who is actually driving the car?
And we should be clear, we don't mean a literal car.
No, not a vehicle.
Okay.
We mean the vehicle that is your mind, your life,
Yeah.
your decisions.
Who's at the wheel?
Exactly.
Hmm.
Because we all walk around with this really profound, unshakable sense of agency.
Of course. I'm in charge of me.
Right. I'm the captain of my soul. I think, I chose that turkey sandwich for lunch because I carefully weighed the pros and cons of turkey versus ham.
Or I voted for that candidate because I did the work.
Yes. I read their 10-point plan on infrastructure, and I really agreed with their stance on, I don't know, municipal bonds.
It feels like a conscious calculation. It feels like
Yeah.
you are doing the work deliberately.
It does. We flatter ourselves. We love to think we're these rational, logical beings who make judgments based on solid evidence.
But the material we're digging into today, which is all about the mechanics of how judgments actually happen, well, it's going to shatter that illusion.
Shatter is a strong word.
I think it's the right one, because it suggests that a huge, massive portion of what we call judgment isn't a calculation at all.
What is it, then?
It's a reflex.
A reflex.
It's a reflex, it's automatic, and frankly, it's ancient. We are running software that was designed for a totally different world than the one we live in now.
So before we get into maybe the scary details of how this affects everything from our elections to our wallets, we should probably set the stage.
We need to introduce the characters.
Right. We've talked about them before, but we need a quick refresher because today they're in a very specific arena. We have System 1 and System 2.
Right. This is the fundamental framework. Let's start with System 2. System 2 is who you think you are.
The conscious me.
The conscious you. It's the voice in your head that's, talking right now, listening to us. It's the part of you that does long division or compares the square footage of two different apartments you're looking at, or decides to finally sit down and fill out a tax form.
The pilot.
The pilot. It's deliberate, it feels logical, but it's slow.
And it's lazy.
So lazy. The pilot loves to sleep. It really does not want to work unless it absolutely has to.
Which leaves the door wide open for System 1.
The autopilot. System 1 is, well, it's basically everything else. It operates automatically, it's incredibly fast, and it takes little to no effort.
And this is the key part, right? No sense of voluntary control.
Zero. You don't tell System 1 to do anything, it just happens. It's the part of you that instantly knows 2 + 2 is 4.
You don't have to calculate it.
No. Or it's the part of you that turns your head when you hear a loud bang. You don't decide to do it, you just do.
And what we are really diving into today is how this autopilot makes these really complex judgments about the world. We're not just talking about simple reflexes like, ducking when a ball is thrown at you. We're talking about judgments like, is this person trustworthy?
Or, how much money should I give to save the rainforest?
Exactly. Those seem like hard questions. They feel like they should be jobs for the pilot, for System 2.
They are hard. And that is the entire problem. System 1 hates hard questions. It craves what the researchers call cognitive ease.
It wants the simple life.
It wants the simple life. So when it faces a difficult question like, how capable will this particular politician be at solving a complex geopolitical crisis? It does not wake up the pilot.
Too much work.
Way too much energy.
So what does it do instead?
It cheats.
It cheats.
It cheats. It performs a little sleight of hand, a substitution.
Okay, explain that.
It takes the hard question, swaps it out for a much easier question than it can answer instantly, and then it feeds you that answer as if it solved the original hard problem.
So instead of asking, is this candidate competent? It asks, does this person look strong? Does their face look competent?
And because that answer, that feeling, just pops into your head so quickly, so effortlessly, you assume it's the right answer to the big, hard question.
You don't even realize the switch happened.
Not at all. And that is the mechanism we're going to tear apart today, substitution. We're going to look at the specific heuristics, the shortcuts that the brain uses.
And to really get why we're wired to cheat on these hard questions, we have to, go back in time?
We have to leave the modern world and go back to the savannah.
The savannah.
We have to, because that's where the hardware was built.
The source material we looked at draws this really vivid comparison. It's between a modern human in a busy city and a gazelle on the plains of Africa.
It sounds like a stretch.
Feels like a big stretch, but when you break it down, it's really not.
It's not a stretch at all. I mean, think about that gazelle. It's out there, it's grazing, it looks calm, right?
Sure.
But what is its brain actually doing? It is running a continuous, high-speed background application.
It's scanning.
Constantly. It's assessing the environment for very specific variables. Is everything normal? Is that rustle in the grass a familiar sound or something new? Is there a threat?
Predator or just the wind?
Right. Should I approach this or should I run away?
And the gazelle isn't, making a to-do list. It's not thinking, okay, 2 p.m., time for my scheduled lion check.
No, of course not. It's a survival imperative. If the gazelle had to consciously decide to check for threats, it would have been eaten 1,000,000 years ago.
Yeah.
The assessment has to be continuous, automatic, and effortless.
And the argument here is that we are basically still that gazelle. We never turned off that software.
100%. The neural mechanisms for threat assessment haven't been turned off just because we moved into condos and started ordering food on our phones.
We're still animals.
We're still animals.
Yeah.
So when you walk into a new conference room for a meeting, or onto a crowded subway car, or into a restaurant you've never been to, System 1 is doing the exact same thing the gazelle's brain does.
It's scanning.
It's scanning. Is this place safe? Is that person over there a threat? Does the vibe feel normal, or is something off?
I think we've all felt that. You walk into a room and you just feel a tension. You can't explain it, you have no evidence, but your stomach tightens up a little.
That is System 1. It's providing you with a basic assessment. It has detected some kind of deviation from the norm.
It could be anything.
It could be a tiny micro-expression on someone's face that you didn't consciously see. It could be a tone of voice, a shadow in the corner. System 1 aggregates all of that data instantly and gives you a single feeling: unsafe.
And on the flip side of that, we have what's called cognitive ease.
Right. When everything is going well, no lions in the grass, plenty to eat, the sun is shining, the gazelle feels safe.
Okay.
In humans, that biological state of safety, it manifests as a good mood, or cognitive ease. When you're in a good mood, what is your brain actually telling you?
That everything is fine.
It's saying the environment is safe,
Yeah.
You can let your guard down, you don't need to overthink things right now.
Which sounds lovely, but I'm guessing there's a trap hidden in there.
There is a big trap. When we are in a state of cognitive ease, we become less vigilant. We are way more likely to accept weak arguments. We're more likely to rely on stereotypes. Because that safety signal tells System 2, hey, go back to sleep, I got this.
So a good mood literally makes us more gullible.
In a way, yes. It makes us more intuitive, more creative and happier, but also a lot less critical.
Okay, so we've got this background machine, this gazelle logic, and it's constantly churning out these basic assessments: safe, unsafe, good, bad. It's always on.
Always. And because it's always on, the answers it produces are cheap. They're readily available.
They're just sitting there.
They're sitting right there on the shelf. And this is the moment where the substitution happens. If I ask you a hard question, your brain looks around for an easy answer, and it sees these basic assessments just sitting there.
And it says,
Close enough.
let's look at an example of how this works. The material talks about translation across dimensions, which is a very fancy phrase.
It is, but the concept itself is actually really intuitive once you see it in action.
It's the ability to take a value from one category
And map it onto a completely different category.
The example from the text is great. If Sam were as tall as he is intelligent, how tall would he be?
Now just stop and think about how absurd that question is.
It's nonsense.
It's complete nonsense. Intelligence is not height. They're measured in completely different units. IQ points versus feet and inches. There's no mathematical formula to convert one to the other.
And yet, I can answer it.
Yep.
Instantly. If you tell me Sam is a certified genius, like Nobel Prize smart, I picture him as being huge.
You're huge.
I don't know, 6'6", 6'7", really tall.
Exactly. You didn't pull out a calculator. You didn't do any math.
Well,
You took the intensity of his intelligence, which is very high, and you matched it to the intensity on the scale of height. Very tall.
I translated the value across dimension.
You did, and it feels like a simple parlor trick.
It does.
But think about what this mechanism allows the brain to do. It allows it to answer any hard question by just substituting an intensity match.
Give me another example.
How severe should the punishment be for this crime? That's a really hard legal and ethical question. It involves precedent, morality, rehabilitation.
It's a System 2 problem.
A very hard System 2 problem. But System 1 can easily answer a different question. How angry does this crime make me feel?
And then it just matches the intensity.
It matches the intensity of the anger to the intensity of the sentence.
So if I'm very, very angry, I give very, very many years in prison.
Precisely. You're not actually doing justice, you are doing matching. And this tendency, this deep-seated tendency to substitute easy assessments for hard ones, it leads us directly into the most controversial part of our discussion today.
Politics.
Politics.
I can already hear some people tensing up. Don't tell me I'm voting wrong.
Yeah.
But that's not what this is about, right? We're not talking about ideology.
Not at all. We're talking about faces.
We're talking about the biology of leadership.
Or, maybe more accurately, the biology of perceived leadership.
Okay, so let's start with the friend or foe mechanism. We established that the gazelle needs to know instantly if a stranger is a threat.
And it needs to know now. You don't have time to interview the lion. You have to look at it and just know.
And the research shows we have a similar specialized capability for faces.
We do. We can judge trustworthiness and dominance from a face, and the speed is just, it's terrifying.
How fast are we talking?
1/10 of a second.
1/10. That's a blink of an eye.
It's less than a blink. In that tiny fraction of a second, your brain analyzes the geometry of a person's face and extracts two vital pieces of information.
Okay, what's the first one?
First is dominance. How strong is this person? This is usually tied to facial shape. A square, strong chin, for instance, just screams dominance.
Okay, so a square chin is ancient code for I can beat you in a fight or I can protect the tribe.
Exactly. And the second factor is trustworthiness.
And how do we judge that?
This is assessed mostly by expression. Is the mouth smiling or is it frowning? Are the eyes kind or are they cold?
So we've got this 2x2 grid in our heads. High or low dominance, high or low trustworthiness.
And there's one specific combination that the text highlights as the danger combination.
Which is?
If you see a face with a square chin-so, high dominance, but a turned-down mouth or angry-looking eyes, so low trustworthiness, your amygdala lights up like a Christmas tree.
That's a foe.
That is the brain's signal for foe. That is a threat.
That makes perfect sense for a physical threat. I mean, a strong guy who looks like he hates you is a problem. But how does this translate to me voting for a U.S. senator?
Right.
I'm not worried the senator is going to physically attack me on the street.
No, but you are worried about whether they're a good leader. And here is where the work of Alex Todorov at Princeton comes in. He conducted a study that honestly should make every single voter feel a little bit uncomfortable.
Okay, walk us through the experiment.
So he took official campaign portraits of politicians, people running for Senate, Congress, governor, all across the country. And he showed these photos to college students.
And the students didn't know who they were.
No idea. Here's the catch. They didn't know who the politicians were. They didn't know their political parties. They didn't know any of their policies.
They were just looking at faces.
Just faces. And he only showed the faces for 1/10 of a second. Flash. Gone.
Wow.
Then he asked the students to rate the faces on various attributes. Things like likability, trustworthiness, and one other one. Competence.
Competence?
Yeah.
How good is this person at their job? You're asking someone to judge that based on a 1/10 of a second glance at a photo.
It sounds absurd, doesn't it? How can you possibly judge competence from the shape of a person's chin? But here is the jaw-dropping result.
Let's hear it.
The ratings of competence based solely on that split-second glance at a face predicted the winner of the actual elections in about 70% of the races.
Wait, stop. Say that again.
70%.
70.
Yes. The face that students rated as more competent went on to win the election 70% of the time.
That's not a statistical blip. That's not a margin of error. That's a landslide. That suggests that in 2 out of every 3 major elections, the winner was decided, essentially, by who had the better competence face.
And it gets worse. It wasn't just an American thing. They replicated this study in Finland, in England, in Australia, Germany, Mexico. The correlation holds across cultures.
I have to push back here. I really do. This feels wrong. I accept that this happens in a lab with a bunch of undergrads who are bored and just clicking buttons. But in the real world, when I'm in the voting booth, I listen to the debates, I read the platforms. I'm not just looking at a jawline and thinking, yep, that's my president. I'm thinking about tax codes and foreign policy and healthcare.
I know.
Are you saying I'm just deluding myself? Is my vote just a biological reflex?
What I'm saying is, you think you're thinking about tax codes, but System 1 has already cast its ballot before you even open the policy paper. And here is where it gets really scary. The researchers, they anticipated your objection. So they didn't just stop at the lab. They went out into the real world and they looked at the difference between high information voters and low information voters.
Okay, so define those terms. People who watch C-SPAN and read 3 newspapers versus people who just catch the headlines on the nightly news.
Or who watch a lot of television in general, yeah. And guess what they found?
I'm afraid to ask.
The effect of facial competence, that square chin effect, was 3 times stronger in the people who were information poor and watched a lot of television.
3 times. Why? Because TV is a visual medium.
That's a huge part of it. But also because when you don't have the data, when System 2's filing cabinet is empty, System 1 is all you have to go on.
System 1 fills the gap.
It fills the gap. It says, look, I don't know his detailed policy on tariffs, but just look at that chin. He looks like he knows what he's doing.
So knowledge is a defense against this.
It is the only defense. If you are well-informed, if you've done the work, the effect of the face shrinks. It doesn't disappear completely, but it shrinks dramatically.
But for the vast majority of the electorate, who are busy, who are tired, who aren't reading 1,000-page white papers,
the face rules.
This explains so much about modern political campaigns. It's not about having the best ideas. It's about casting.
It is absolutely casting. We are casting the role of strong leader. And we have a prototype in our head of what that person looks like.
And what does that look?
Well, according to the research, the competent face is a combination of strength and trustworthiness. So a strong chin, but with a slight confident smile.
If the candidate fits that prototype,
we feel cognitive ease. We trust them. It feels right. If they don't fit the prototype, we feel cognitive strain. We start looking for reasons to dislike their policies.
And we probably rationalize it to ourselves later. We'd never say, oh, I didn't vote for him because of his chin.
No, never.
We say, I voted for the other guy because he just seems like a straight shooter.
Exactly. And straight shooter is just a System 2 rationalization for the gut feeling that System 1 gave you based on a face.
Man, that is deeply depressing. But okay, let's pivot. So our brains judge faces instantly, and it seems pretty unfairly. What about something more concrete, like numbers?
We live in a data-driven world. Surely System 1 is better at math than it is at politics.
You would hope so. But unfortunately, no. System 1 is almost completely mathematically illiterate.
Illiterate.
It has one very specific skill. It can do averages, but it absolutely cannot do sums.
Okay, explain that distinction. Average versus sum.
All right, imagine I show you a picture. And on this picture, there are a whole bunch of vertical lines. Some are short, some are long. They're all different lengths.
Got it.
If I ask you, what is the average length of all the lines on this page? You can answer that almost instantly. You can just look at the group and get a sense of the average.
Yeah, I can visualize that. I can look and say, they look about 4 inches on average. I might not be perfectly precise, but I'll be in the ballpark. Exactly. Your System 1 can do that. But if I ask you, what is the total length of all the lines combined if you laid them end to end?
I have no idea.
Blank stare. Right. System 1 just goes quiet. It has no intuition for sums, for totals.
So how would I do it?
To get the total, you have to wake up the pilot. System 2 has to come in and do the hard work. Count the lines, estimate the length of each one, and then multiply. It's a laborious, deliberate process.
So System 1 sees the typical example. It intuits the average, but it completely ignores the quantity.
It completely ignores the quantity. This is a blind spot known as scope neglect. And while that's maybe just annoying for a math problem with lines, it is devastating when it comes to humanitarian issues.
And this leads us to the Exxon Valdez experiment. This is one of those studies that once you hear it, you can't unhear it.
I agree.
It changes how you look at every single charity drive forever.
It really does. So this research actually came out of the real-world litigation following the Exxon Valdez oil spill. Researchers wanted to understand how juries decide on things like punitive damages. So they set up a study using a willingness to pay model. They went to a group of participants and they asked them a question. How much would you be willing to pay for special nets to cover oil ponds to save migratory birds from drowning?
A noble cause. No one wants birds to drown in oil. It's a sympathetic problem.
A very sympathetic problem. But here is the trick. They divided the people into 3 different groups.
Okay.
Group A was told the nets would save 2,000 birds. Group B was told the nets would save 20,000 birds. And Group C was told the nets would save 200,000 birds.
Okay, so the scope of the problem is increasing massively. From 2,000 to 200,000, that's 100 times more lives saved in Group C.
100 times. Logically, if you are acting as a rational economic agent, saving 200,000 birds is a much, much bigger good than saving 2,000.
Yeah.
You should be willing to pay significantly more for it.
I mean, if I'm buying apples at the store, I pay more for 100 apples than I do for one apple. Why doesn't that same logic apply here?
Because you don't buy charity the way you buy apples. Let's look at the actual results. How much did people in each group offer to pay?
I'm guessing it went up, but maybe not by 100 times.
Okay. To save 2,000 birds, the average contribution was $80.
Okay. $80. Seems like a reasonable, generous number.
Now for Group B, to save 20,000 birds, 10 times as many, the average was $78.
Wait.
It went down?
Statistically, it's the same. It's a wash. And now for the big one, Group C. To save 200,000 birds.
Okay.
The average contribution was $88.
Wait, stop. I need to process that for a second. So you've got Group A saving 2,000 birds for $80, and you have Group C saving 100 times more lives, 100 times the impact.
Yes.
And the dollar value barely moved. It's basically flat across the board.
It is completely flat. The number of birds, the quantity, the scope was totally and completely ignored by the participants' brains. That feels broken. It feels almost immoral. We're effectively saying that an extra 190,000 lives are worth $0 additional dollars.
It feels broken because System 1 is running the show. And remember, System 1 doesn't do sums, it does prototypes.
What does that mean? What's the prototype in this context?
When you hear the phrase, save birds from drowning in oil, what happens in your mind? You don't see a spreadsheet with the number 200,000 on it.
No. I see a picture.
You see a picture. System 1 paints a mental image. A prototype. You see one bird. Maybe it's a pelican or a duck. Its feathers are matted with thick black sludge. It's struggling to breathe. It looks pathetic and helpless.
Yeah, I can see that image very clearly. It's a heartbreaking image.
And that image evokes an emotion, sadness, empathy, a desire to help. And what System 1 does is it translates the intensity of that emotion into a dollar amount. This makes me feel $80 worth of sad.
I see. And the picture of that one single pathetic bird is the exact same, whether there are 2,000 of them in total or 200,000 of them.
Exactly. The prototype doesn't scale. The image of a drowning bird is the same for the person in Group A as it is for the person in Group C. So the emotion is the same. So the donation is the same.
It's substituted the hard question.
The hard question was, what is the economic value of saving 200,000 lives? And it substituted it with the easy question. How much does this one sad picture make me feel?
This explains so much about how charities advertise. They always show you a picture of one child. This is little Maria. For just 50 cents a day, you can give her clean water.
Yes.
They never show you a bar graph of the 5 million people in the region who are suffering.
Because statistics don't trigger emotion. Prototypes trigger emotion. As Mother Teresa famously said, if I look at the mass, I will never act. If I look at the one, I will. She understood System 1 perfectly.
It's an incredibly powerful tool for fundraising, but it's also incredibly dangerous for policy. It means we allocate our resources based on what makes for a good emotional story, not necessarily on what does the most good.
That is the tragic implication, yes. We might spend millions of dollars to save one whale that's trapped in a fishing net because it's a great story with a clear prototype,
while completely ignoring a preventable disease that kills thousands of people every day because it's just a statistic.
It's scope neglect in action.
Okay, so we've covered how we judge faces in politics and how we use prototypes in charity. I want to go back to that intensity matching concept because there's a specific trap there that I think catches smart people, especially like professionals, all the time.
Ah, yes. The Julie problem.
The Julie problem. This is all about how we make predictions,
Like
right?
this.
But before we get to Julie, let's play the little synesthesia game that the text mentions. This is the idea that we can match intensities across totally different senses.
Right. Okay, so you at home, you can play along. If I tell you a crime is extremely severe, think of the worst possible crime, like a mass murder.
Okay.
Now, if I ask you to match the severity of that crime to the volume of music, how loud is that music?
Oh, it's deafening. It's a rock concert with the speakers turned up to 11. It's screaming loud.
Right. Fortissimo. Now, what if the crime is parking in a loading zone for 5 minutes?
That's a whisper. That's soft background jazz you can barely hear.
Pianissimo. See? We all agree. We can intuitively match the intensity of crime severity to the intensity of decibels.
And we can do it with colors, too.
Yeah.
Murder is a deep, dark red. Theft is maybe A light gray.
It's effortless. We have this underlying scale of intensity in our minds.
Okay, so we're good at matching vibes. Why is this a problem?
It's a problem because we use this exact same mechanism to predict the future. And the future doesn't care about your vibes, it cares about statistics.
And this brings us to Julie.
Here's the setup. I give you one single fact about a little girl named Julie. When Julie was 4 years old, she could read fluently.
Okay, that's impressive. Most 4-year-olds are still eating paste. She's reading novels.
Very impressive. Now, based only on that single fact from her childhood, I want you to predict her grade point average when she graduates from a top university 20 years later.
Okay, so my brain is going to do the intensity match.
Tell me what it's doing.
It's saying reading fluently at age 4 is extremely rare. That's like top 1% precociousness. So I should predict a GPA that is also top 1%. I'll say a 3.9, maybe a perfect 4.0.
That feels right, doesn't it? It feels completely logical.
It feels like the only logical answer. Precocious kid becomes a brilliant adult. The story makes sense.
And that is the trap. That answer is almost certainly statistically wrong.
Why?
Because you are ignoring a fundamental rule of statistics called regression to the mean.
Okay, give me the simple non-math version of that.
Okay. Think about a professional golfer. Let's say a golfer has an incredible day one at a big tournament. He shoots a 63, everything went in, the putts were dropping, he was on fire.
You had a great day.
An amazing day. What is your best prediction for his score on day 2?
Well, if I'm a fan, I'm going to say he's going to crush it again.
Yeah.
Another 63.
But if you're a statistician, you know something else. You know that an exceptional score of 63 is partly due to his skill, yes, but it's also partly due to luck.
The wind was just right. He got a few lucky bounces.
Exactly. On day 2, his skill will still be there, but the luck probably won't be as perfect. He's probably going to score a little worse than 63. He will regress back toward his average score.
He'll come back down to earth a little bit.
He'll come back down to earth. Now, apply that same logic to Julie. Reading at age 4 is partly a sign of high intelligence, which is skill, but it's also partly luck.
How is it luck?
Maybe her parents were teachers who sat with her for hours every day. Maybe she just happened to have a brain that matured early in that one specific area. It doesn't guarantee that she is a across-the-board genius at everything for the rest of her life.
So when I predict her college GPA, I should account for that.
You should. You should say, well, she will probably still be above average for sure, but predicting a perfect 4.0 based on one single data point from her childhood is too extreme. She'll likely regress a bit toward the mean.
But System 1 hates that. System 1 loves an extreme, consistent story.
System 1 loves consistency above all else. It wants the story to be coherent. Smart baby becomes smart adult. That's a good story. Smart baby becomes a pretty good accountant. That's a messy, unsatisfying story. It feels wrong.
So our intuition is to just match the intensity. We take the extreme precociousness from childhood and we match it to extreme GPA in adulthood. We completely fail to regress to the mean.
And we do this in business all the time. This startup had an amazing first quarter. The stock is going to go to the moon.
When in reality, they probably got a little lucky.
And their next quarter will be good, but not as good. But we bet our life savings on the intensity match.
Okay, so to recap where we are, we have a brain that judges books by their covers and politicians by their chins.
Yep.
It ignores huge quantities of suffering in favor of one sad picture.
Scope neglect. Yeah.
And it bets the house on these perfectly consistent stories while completely ignoring the role of luck.
It's a bit of a mess in there, isn't it?
It's a real mess. But wait, there's more. We have one final mechanism to unpack. And this one has the best name of all of them. The mental shotgun.
The mental shotgun. This explains why our brain is just so noisy all the time.
When I first read this, I immediately pictured a literal shotgun. You aim a rifle at a single point on a target. But with the shotgun, you aim at the bullseye, and the pellets just spread out everywhere. You hit the bullseye, but you also hit the wall and the ceiling and the lamp next to the target.
That is the perfect analogy. System 2, the pilot, gives a command, do this one specific task.
Yeah.
That's you aiming the gun. But System 1 is sloppy. It's not a rifle. It overcomputes. It fires a whole spray of computations at the target, but also at everything remotely related to the target.
There's a modern analogy for this that I love. It's like browsing the web.
Yes, that's a great one. Imagine you go to a website to look up one specific fact. Your mission is, what is the capital of Peru? You are the pilot. You have a clear mission.
I'm locked in. Lima. That's all I need.
But the moment the page loads, what actually happens?
It's absolute chaos.
Mm.
There's a huge banner ad flashing at me. 5 weird tricks to lose belly fat.
There's a video that starts autoplaying in the corner.
And there's a sidebar with a list of 10 child stars who aged terribly. Clickbait everywhere.
Exactly. You didn't ask for the ads, you didn't ask for the video, you certainly didn't ask for the celebrity gossip, but your brain processes them anyway. You can't not see them, you can't not understand them.
And they consume my attention and my energy, even though they are totally irrelevant to my actual task.
That is the mental shotgun. We are constantly involuntarily computing things we didn't intend to compute.
Let's look at the rhyme experiment from the text, because it's such a clean example of this happening, even with simple words.
This is a classic cognitive psychology study. So the researchers asked people to just listen, purely listen to pairs of words, and then press a button as fast as they could if the 2 words rhymed.
Okay, simple auditory task. Do these things sound the same at the end?
That's it. So pair 1, the words are vote and note. Do they rhyme?
Yes. Vote, note, easy, fast button press.
Okay, now for pair 2, vote and goat. Do they rhyme?
Yes. Vote, goat. They rhyme perfectly.
They do, but the study found that people were significantly slower to press the button for vote and goat than they were for vote and note.
Why? The rhyme is just as good.
The rhyme is perfect, but they look different. Vote is spelled V-O-T-E. Goat is spelled G-O-A-T.
The spelling.
Even though the instruction was only listen to the sound, your mental shotgun fired at the spelling too. System 1 automatically pulled up the visual representation of the words in your mind.
And it saw a mismatch.
It saw the mismatch, the OTE versus the OTE, and that created a tiny microsecond of cognitive conflict. A little voice in your head said, wait, these look different.
And that little bit of conflict slowed down the reaction time.
Exactly. You could not turn off the reading circuit in your brain, even though you only needed the hearing circuit. The shotgun fired.
There's another one about literal truth that I found hilarious.
Ah, yes. Some roads are snakes.
Okay, so the task for the participant is simple. Just read a sentence and decide if it is literally true or literally false.
Right. First sentence. Some roads are snakes.
Literally. No. Roads are made of asphalt. Snakes are reptiles. False.
Correct. Second sentence. Some jobs are snakes.
Literally. Also false. A job is not a reptile.
Right. But people were significantly slower to press the false button for some jobs are snakes.
Because metaphorically, it's true.
It's metaphorically true. Yeah, some jobs are treacherous and terrible. Your brain instantly processed the metaphor. The mental shotgun fired, it hit the metaphor, and part of your brain screamed, true.
And System 2 had to step in.
System 2 had to step in and say, no, wait. He said literally, we need the literal answer. Say false. That little internal argument took time.
So we're constantly fighting these little internal battles that we're not even aware of. The shotgun fires, and then we have to try and filter out all the debris.
And that debris shapes our judgments. If you are trying to judge a candidate's healthcare policy, that's your target, but the mental shotgun also fires and hits their weak chin and their annoying voice. Those irrelevant pellets are going to affect your final decision.
You can't isolate the variable you want.
It's almost impossible. It all gets mixed together in this big, messy soup of judgment.
This really paints a picture of a brain that is, well, it's not the precision instrument we like to think it is.
It's not a computer, it's a jungle.
So let's try to synthesize all of this. We started this deep dive by asking who is driving the car. And the answer seems to be the autopilot is driving. And the pilot is mostly just sitting in the back seat making up excuses for where you're going.
That is a pretty fair summary, I think. The autopilot, System 1, it translates dimensions. It matches your anger to years in prison.
It ignores sums in favor of emotional prototypes. It saves one sad bird instead of 200,000 anonymous ones.
It judges leadership based on bone structure. And it fires a shotgun of computation at everything it sees, whether you want it to or not.
And the craziest part is that most of the time, we have zero idea any of this is happening. We just get a gut feeling.
And we trust that gut feeling. We call it intuition or wisdom. But so often, it's just System 1 answering a different, much easier question than the one we're actually facing.
So what's the takeaway here? What do we do with this information? Is the conclusion that we're just hopeless biological puppets?
No, I don't think so. I think the takeaway is humility and vigilance. Once you know about the mental shotgun and about substitution, you can occasionally, with effort, catch yourself in the act.
You can wake up the pilot.
You can wake up the pilot. You can pause and ask the hard questions. Wait a minute, am I voting for this person because of their detailed economic policy or because they have a great chin and look like a movie star?
Or Am I donating to this specific charity because it's the most effective at saving lives? Or just because that one photo they used made me cry?
You have to force the hard question back onto the table.
You have to refuse the substitution.
You have to refuse the substitution.
Yeah.
It's hard work. It takes energy. System 2 gets tired. But it's the only way to make judgments that are actually your own and not just a reflex.
I love that. Refuse the substitution.
Yeah,
That feels like a mantra for modern life.
it really is.
Before we wrap up, we always like to leave our listeners with a final provocative thought, something to chew on that maybe we didn't explicitly cover, but that really grows out of this material.
You know, I've been thinking about the combination of two of these ideas, the mental shotgun and intensity matching.
Okay.
So we know we automatically compute things we don't need to, like whether a sentence is a good metaphor or whether a face looks trustworthy. The shotgun is always firing.
Right. We're association machines.
And we know we automatically match the intensities of these things to our feelings. So if that's true, think about your strongest opinions, the things you're absolutely certain about, your core beliefs about justice or society or other people.
Okay, I'm thinking of one.
How many of those strong opinions are actually based on a careful System 2 analysis of facts and logic?
And how many?
And how many are just accidental byproducts of the machinery? How many are just the result of your brain trying to answer a simple emotional question, does this feel right? Does this feel threatening? And accidentally firing a shotgun blast of associations that you later mistook for a logical conclusion?
Are your deepest convictions actually just clever substitutions?
Are they just the noise from the shotgun?
That is a terrifying thought and a perfect place to stop. Something to think about the next time you feel absolutely certain about anything.
Indeed.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.